Lucy.
Hey, I'm Madeline, and this is Parallax. My sister and I are going to be talking about different topics and taking some letters from you guys. I think that I can safely say we have two pretty different perspectives on the topic we'll be discussing today, which is, does everything happen for a reason, or is the universe just fucking with me?
So, the idea of, you don't care, I don't care. Nobody cares! So, I don't want to be too unfair in invoking a lot of negative examples of why I think the concept of everything happens for a reason is bullshit. But that's kind of where my mind tends to go in this case, because that's a lot of why I'm like, how could we ever say that everything happens for a reason? When there are horrible atrocities taking place, when there are, you know, multiple awful events going on all at the same time, like, for which there seems to be no reason, like, of any kind, like, involved in the situation itself, or for why it would take place to begin with.
Yeah.
But I can't see...
I get what you mean, and I think it's also fair to say that people will often fucking use that phrase and invoke it at times when it's really, like, inappropriate, like when somebody has just lost someone.
Right, it's like saying, that was God's plan.
Right.
It's like, what the fuck? That's very simplistic. That seems to just say, sorry, you have an eyelash.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
This happened for a reason.
But you don't think so?
No. It seems like way too difficult of a setup to have everything that's like happening all at every juncture be laid in place so that the next thing that can ripple forward. And even as I'm saying it, I can see where somebody would believe that. I'm not disallowing the possibility altogether, but for me, I'm like, there are too many factors that could change at any point for those things to not take place to say that yes, this was all specifically laid out so that this particular outcome would happen. And especially when there's so little justice in so many of the outcomes, it's like, what is the purpose in that? What reason was there for that?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem fair, and maybe that's where my problem begins. Anyway.
Yeah.
To be like, that's not good enough for me, then therefore it can't be what's real. I have a lot of fucking
revelations.
Oh, fuck. I have a lot of trouble in life, like, dealing with injustice, and I try to make sense of things that could not possibly have sense, and so I think maybe the concept of things happening for a specific reason pisses me off.
Because other people are trying to make sense of it in a positive way, and you're trying to make sense of it in a way that feels more logical, and maybe that feels like they're glossing over, or they're...
And at the same time, though, at the base of it, it's very emotional for me. And maybe it's the insincerity with which some people pass the sentiment off that makes me kind of averse to hearing any of the
people can use it in a really facile way.
But yeah, it just, I think it's partly part of my deeply held feelings about it are just like, being like, yeah.
How can that be right? How can that be right that like some people get raped, people get murdered, people get... Yeah.
Right, that's immediately what comes to my head. Not sweet ways in which people meet and eventually fall in love. Not like you lost this job and then you went and got this better job because you then had the opportunity to go do it because you lost this job. My mind goes right to the horrible atrocities and terrible, like, instances of people being, you know, terrible.
Yeah.
So I can see where some of my roadblocks there lie, and that maybe I haven't examined it fully enough to be completely able to defend my point the way I would want to, but I'm still not completely convinced, while still even in the midst of this conversation, without even hearing what you have to say, kind of like coming to a different conclusion. Not that I think it's real or true.
Yeah.
And that sounds like really negative, not the real
no,
part.
I think it's fine. It's okay. Like, because this isn't. I think it's important to point out at this point in the conversation that this is just two white chicks on the internet sharing their opinions and perspectives, which, you know, God knows we need more of that.
Yeah. Definitely.
So everything we're saying is
really,
really important, and you should definitely take it to heart and accept it as truth with a capital T. No, we're just talking, and like this is if anything to get your wheels turning and make you think maybe about what you think about this stuff, and hopefully, you know, if you flick the lights on in your house, you know, you're talking to somebody and they flick the lights on in their house, and, you know, nice ripple effect, because everything happens for a reason. I can completely understand, like, feeling like, well, fuck you. Like, people don't, as I said, get raped or get murdered or get hurt for a reason. Like, I can completely see that. And again, this is just two people sharing their perspectives. So the same way that you can't say, like, oh, I know that definitively that's true, neither can I. So nobody can fucking know. None of us knows. And if somebody's telling you that they fucking know for sure, then like turn
about anything, pretty much. If they tell you that they know for sure,
because you just need to know for yourself. Especially, it's not that they're even wrong. It's that you need to fucking know for yourself. And if somebody else is telling you,
well, and if you haven't even finished talking, and some motherfucker's like, "Let me tell you," no, because I was telling you. So you need to back the fuck up and shut the fuck up.
Point being, I can see where people use it in a very facile way. I too have a problem with somebody going through like a fucking fresh tragedy and you know, being told or saying like, hey, this is God's plan, or hey, like this, everything happens for a reason, like, so, you know, just wait for it. And I want to say that I don't conflate everything happens for a reason with like everything is going to turn out for the best. And I do think that that's like a confusion like that can happen, is like, it's not like, oh, everything's going to be all right or everything's going to be good and better than this moment. When I think of everything happens for a reason, I think of like, you probably heard me say like, God is beautiful math. Like, and I do think of it like that, where like you said, I don't see how it could be like kind of like intersecting lines and like this happened so that this could happen and this happened so that this could happen. But I think of things, and of course, again, perspectives. So I'm just going to use like personal like examples or whatever. But like I think of the fact that, without going like deep into our shit, like you went through like difficult circumstances like childhood, right? And circumstances that were like spiky and that kind of forced you into thinking fast and striking back and like defiance. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that those things like armed you with like your kind of superpowers, and I kind of tend to think of that about like everybody, but it's either like it's your superpower or it's your fucking like, you either make it your okay, let's get really realistic right now and say that like maybe if the Ninja Turtles had fucking drank that radioactive ooze, they'd be dead. But because they were just kind of swimming around in it, like it actually affected them and made them into like awesome Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think that it is purely perspective, but I think it's a really fucking useful perspective. That's part of it, because like, well, not to say who cares if it's true or not, but for the sake of argument, who cares if it's true or not? Is somebody going to make a better use of... That's fair. I'm saying for the sake of argument. If
an argument.
You said argument. If it's not true, like does one's life improve, and you know, like to me I guess that's pragmatic. Like, does my life experience improve if I stop thinking that the bad things that happened to me were actually just arming me with like excessive empathy and sensitivity and like courage to get through shitty situations and willingness to put my hands in the bullshit of other people and not be grossed out by it or whatever, the same way you got defiance and humor and like quickness, you know what I mean? Like, and wit and, you know, rapier. Like, you know, so of course, totally fucking anecdotal and perspective, but you know, that's
but I figure if anything can change your mind, it's compliments. And she is correct. Everything happens for a reason.
I submit that in actuality, looking at life in terms of everything happens for a reason is actually a stoic philosophy of make use of the bullshit that's happening in your life right now. I would say that my belief is, like, my fucking life philosophy and my way of like operating and working with people, like, it is from that place. But
yeah, I'd say that's useful.
And it's not to say that it's true. Right. But I do think it's more useful.
That's
I
why
do
I'd
think
say
that's
it's
one
useful.
point for it that is like kind of an unequivocal, like, if you're gonna...
I mean, yeah, if shit's gonna happen anyway, if there's gonna be bullshit that you have to slog through, that there is no goddamn fucking logic,
use, right,
any basis for, or, you know, immediate payoff that you can see, like, oh, this is why I put in all of this work for this.
Yeah.
No, you can at least say, this is making me stronger maybe for a purpose. This is
I learned something from this.
My attention is coming to this point about myself for a reason. This is bringing things about my character into stark relief. This is bringing relationships in my life, or the lack thereof, into stark relief.
Yeah.
So I'd say yes, and I like that you put it in terms of stoicism, because that I can jive with that
Yeah.
a lot. So that's where I could see that, is maybe not necessarily being, like, for me at least, saying like, no, that's unequivocally things happen for a reason, but to say that it's useful to put things through those lens, I could jive with more.
Yeah.
And be like, you know what, even if I don't necessarily believe that the universe lined things up in this exact way beforehand, before anything took place, so that this outcome would result, you can at least say, you know what, maybe I can get something out of this by seeing it through the lens of, there's a purpose in all of this, that I'm at least gaining something that I wouldn't have, even if this is bullshit.
Right, I choose to take something from this.
Right.
Like, I choose to make something productive out of this.
Active fucking investment in feeling that, rather than like letting it wash over you.
Yeah, and I want to make 2 points about something that you said that I think is important, so I'm glad you brought it up. I don't think that everything is chosen beforehand. I don't think that, though my belief is that everything happens for a reason, I don't think that's how it works. Like, again, that sounds ridiculous, but I don't think it's predestination. It's kind of linked in, but the idea that like we're born into the, well, I guess it is the same topic, like born into these circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, you referenced my circumstances earlier, so
for
I think
a reason.
they would all be
right. But then,
for a reason.
So the other thing is that it does also link into my belief in magic or whatever. Like, and we can call it magic, we can call it energy, you can call it like whatever you want. Like, but meaning like all energy is productive energy. Whatever person is in front of me is my fucking like teacher right now. Like I'm supposed to. That's how I feel about it. Like, I'm supposed to.
In front of you at John
especially sometimes.
Spirit journey.
Yeah. No, really.
No,
like
I know.
it's like, are you teaching me fucking patience? Are you teaching me, oh, don't be an asshole? Are you teaching me like what are you teaching me to exert my own boundaries?
There's a reason.
So what do you guys think? Is there a reason? Is there not a reason? Do you take huge issue with that? Like, do you feel fucking offended by the idea that like everything happens for a reason?
I still am going to be offended by that phrase in a lot of contexts. That my mind is not like, it's blown apart.
No.
But I can definitely see more use. I think that's where I'm like, okay, it's about where you put your mindset.
That's what I
where
think.
you put your mind flip. That I can jive with.
Yeah, let me get something out. That's the magic. That's when I say it links into the magic thing. Is like everything's productive. Like,
right.
There's something to do with
And it's
this,
hard to keep that attitude sometimes, which as a person that tends towards pessimism, let me just say that if you're like, what the fuck ever, I totally fucking understand, because I'm like, what the fuck ever, let me sit in my fucking shit, like jive around in my fucking dirty diaper of pessimism, and no, everybody's just a fuck. It's all a parody. I forget you haven't caught on yet.
Life is a grotesque caricature of itself. Everything happens for a reason. Yeah! Comment below. Does everything happen for a reason? We're not even wasted this time.
No.
The dancing and singing just never stops, so just trust.
And you know what the reason is?
That's
It's because this bitch sets me on fire.
Same. There's a reason.